An English soldier and the daughter of a Native American chief share a romance when English colonists invade 17th century Virginia.
Hi, my name is Andre.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Luis.
And we're the Walt Podcast, our podcast about Disney movies. Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 3. Guys, we're back. We did it again.
We did.
It's getting less and less impressive that we're starting a podcast every time we do it, but
It's still impressive.
I'm still pretty excited about it.
Back again. Louis back.
That's right. Luis came
Tell
back
your friends.
once again.
Don't tell your friends. It's really not that exciting.
It is exciting.
He's like the bad boy of the podcast.
Yeah.
He's like AJ from the Backstreet Boys.
But I mean,
I kind of pictured myself more of a Kevin kind of guy, but...
Ew.
AJ? Really?
I can't remember.
I listened to
Which
Kevin
one?
was like the
Sorry.
old Oafy one in the back.
Oh,
That's gross.
Okay. Well,
Am I not 45?
is he not?
Moving on.
Anyway, guys, we're talking about Pocahontas today. The 1995 Disney animated film. But first,
Spectacular.
yeah, it's great.
that's how the song goes.
Oh, okay. You were done. I thought
Yes.
you were going to sing the whole thing.
I was done.
Dun, 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 dun.
Virginia Company.
Dun,
So
dun,
this
dun,
is what
dun.
happens. Like, we just enjoy the music so much, and we start singing all the time.
Well, you can tell how we feel about the movie itself when we just start with singing, meaning that was probably the
The best part of the movie.
best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk
The
about
music.
that. First,
Yes.
let's talk about how we know each other
Oh,
for our lovely listeners,
that's a good idea.
because we forgot to do that.
You
I
want to
didn't
start
forget. I was just about to segue into it, but then you
Oh.
mentioned other things.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, we've all known each other for quite some time now, and unless you know us, you don't know how we know each other. So
You
I
don't
guess
know.
you don't know.
All right.
You don't know nothing.
Jon Snow. Sorry. Game of Thrones reference. Anyways, continue.
So I think out of this group, I've known Emily the longest. Me and Emily met in high school.
So cool.
High school.
Long ago. It's like almost 10 years ago now, which is
Wow.
upsetting. Oh, wait. No, well, we met longer than 10 years ago because we
As
met in
freshmen.
like 2005, yeah. Ugh.
So about 12 years.
Yeah, we've known each other for 12 years?
That's longer than I would like to have known, Andre. I'm just kidding.
This should have ended long ago.
This should have ended 4 years after that. I don't know what happened.
How did you guys meet in high school?
Let's see. Okay, so I remember we probably had a fair amount of the same classes in that first year.
We were nerds.
We were nerds, so we had...
Excuse me.
were.
Just kidding. No, we were nerds.
We were nerds. We're no longer nerds. We're the coolest of the cool people.
We're just cool nerds now.
We're
I wish you could see Andre right now. He put his hand on his hip, and he did a head bop. We are the coolest
We're
of the cool.
coolest of the cool. So I think I don't really remember my first memory of meeting you, Emily. Like I think the earliest memory that I have of you is like us sitting at like the lunch tables eating oatmeal pies for
Oatmeal cream pies.
oatmeal cream pies.
Yep.
That's right, for lunch. Because that was like sustainable nutrition back then when we were 14.
Yeah. I remember, if you know anything about the lovely town that we grew up in, we grew up in Ceres, California. Shout out
Ceres.
to the oh god
209.
to the 209. We grew up there, and I came from one side of town, and Andre came from the other. So I came from Hensley, and he came from Blaker Kinzer.
That's right.
And that only proved that the Blaker Kinzer kids were way not as cool as the May Hensley kids.
Do you want to have a fight right now on this podcast?
Oh, I will have a fight with you because, that was my own fault for choosing to sit with you guys. But literally, it was like the nerdiest group of like 6 nerdy dudes.
Yeah.
at this table, and me
Mm-hmm.
being me at this table
Yeah.
with oatmeal cream pies.
And
They
you
were-
guys were in choir together,
They were
right?
delicious.
I
Well,
wasn't in choir right
I
away.
didn't join
No?
choir until senior year, actually, which
Oh,
feels
you're one of
weird to me
those.
now because like I did choir in college as well, and so like it feels like it's been a part of my life for a lot longer than
I
it
feel like
actually
one of
was.
us probably coerced you into it. I
Yes.
feel like you didn't like willfully go for it.
And I wonder why. Why were you guys trying to get me into choir? So I was probably just singing a lot. I guess I don't know.
We only were friends with. We were like, okay, this is the funny part about our choir life. Luis didn't really believe me until he talked to other choir people that we grew up with. That like, for being choir kids that you would think would be really nice, we were actually kind of like mean choir kids.
Right,
Like
we were
we only
like-
talked to choir kids. Excuse me. Okay, and if you're not a choir kid, you're not
Yeah, that's right. We were all choir kids.
snobby choir kids.
Yeah.
I was a choir kid, but I wasn't a snobby choir kid. I was a quiet
Okay.
choir kid. It's true.
Mm.
I was in choir since kindergarten all the way up into high school, and I did honor choirs and musicals.
That's actually how Michelle and I met. Even though, like, I'm a couple years older than her, but this is actually really funny. You guys ready for this? So,
It is
Yes.
funny. I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
So, pretend I didn't bring up choir. We quote unquote met in college.
Okay.
I was in sorority, and Michelle came through recruitment, and she joined our sorority, and I was like, oh my god, I love Michelle, and Michelle was like, oh my god, I love Emily, and so we were
That's
like,
true.
oh my god, let's be BFFs, which in normal people terms is BFFs. It's big and little in sorority. And it was funny because my mom was like, that girl looks really familiar, and I'm like, what? She's like, no,
Why?
no, I think you have a picture with her, and I was like, that what? And long story short, we had been in musical theater together when we were younger, and we literally have pictures
I
from
think
a
I
show.
was a freshman in high school.
Oh yeah, and I was
I
like,
was a baby.
I want to say at least a junior. So it was
Yeah.
funny because
Wow.
we have pictures where like we're standing right next to each other.
And it was a Disney musical.
Yes.
It was a Disney musical review. How appropriate.
So I mean, there you go. Like
Oh.
it was just
Yeah.
it's damn meant to be.
You know, and it's funny because like we didn't discover this until long after we started dating, but Michelle and I lived like a block away from each other when we were
In series.
kids. Yes.
I didn't go to school in Ceres. I went to school in Modesto because that's where my cousins and my family went. But
Snobby.
apparently, Andre and I lived right down the street from each other.
We were neighbors.
Could have been dating a lot sooner.
Maybe.
No,
Maybe.
you needed to wait like till Andre
Yeah.
got out of those nerd phases. I'm telling you.
That's true, I guess.
I
But I
hadn't
was a
reached-
nerd too.
I hadn't reached my full potential yet.
Anyway, so Emily and I met in college, and then she was friends with Andre. So every time we would go to the bar, we would go hang out at her house and watch movies. Andre was there, and I was always like, "Oh, hey, that
I'd
guy's
show
kinda
up
cute."
all suave and debonair,
I don't know
stuff
about
like that.
but-
Very debonair.
Thank
May
you,
add.
Luis.
You're welcome, Andre.
Luis is also very
So that's
debonair.
how we met, and he never asked me out. So then one day I just decided to ask him out, and then now we're together.
It was
2-year anniversary.
It's a lot more complicated than that, sure.
That's
but
the short story.
Yeah.
Yes. That I asked him out. We went to the corn maze, and now we've been together 2 years. Thanks, Emily.
You are
Thanks.
very welcome.
How'd you two weirdos meet?
Actually, thanks to me because you guys decided to take your friendship to the next level at an event that I had to beg you guys to go to.
That's right.
True, but it was
And you guys did
We
me a
had to
favor, so I
we had
really
to pay
appreciate
Luis
it.
like $30 each to start
To
dating
go to
each
that
other.
event.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Oh,
I guess we're
no.
gonna get married at that event in the future.
But
I
you know
don't
what? Luis has to thank me for having friends to invite to that event. So you're welcome.
We should be thanking Andre's friend Mary Angela, who was always
Hey,
like,
shout out to
excuse
Mary.
me.
"Hey, Andre likes you. Hey,
Hey.
Andre likes you."
Hey, hold on.
Okay, I'll thank Mary Angela and Emily. There we go.
No. She's also my friend.
Okay, that's true. Shout out to Mary Angela.
No,
who
she's
is
only
all
my
of our
friend.
friends. She's all of our friends. You go, girl.
Hey,
You picked a good group of friends.
Darn.
But so that's how us three met, and then we were introduced to Luis through Emily.
Yeah, he was there. We met.
That's it.
Do you have anything to add, Lou? No, we met.
Oh, you met.
Yeah, on the street.
Okay.
They met in college, and now they're married and have a baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the short.
Just like that. Just like
And we're
that
all
nursery rhyme.
friends.
Yeah. There you go.
Met in college,
there.
then got married, then had a baby. Her name is Addie.
In a baby carriage.
I know. I knew where you were going with that. That's funny. So, anyways,
And then we watched Pocahontas. So here we are. Full circle.
Boom.
Yes, we actually met in college through Greek organizations. I always really thought she was very pretty. And one day, just finally decided to ask her out. And luckily she said, yeah, sure, let's go. You know, she's like, you can't be that bad. And sure enough.
boy, were we wrong. I'm just kidding. We love Louise.
Yeah, you're kind of forced to. And I kind of believe sometimes you're forced to like me. But either way. So me and Emily started dating. And we pretty much eventually got married. And we now have a beautiful baby girl.
Podcast baby.
The podcast
She's
baby.
adorable. If you guys haven't seen pictures of little Adeline, go look at Emily's Instagram page. She's precious.
Anyway, you guys.
That's
if
how we
you-
met.
That's a little bit more about us. More Walt origins.
Origin story.
Origin stories.
Not that you care, but now you know.
Love it.
Now you know. So let's talk about the movie we came here to talk about. Pocahontas.
Pocahontas.
Yes, the 1995 film, animated, directed by a couple of dudes whose names I can't quite recall right now, and I probably should have written them down, but I
And
didn't.
music by the wonderful Alan Menken, which
Alan
Emily and I
Menken.
can never rave enough about.
Never.
That's right. I mean,
Musical
honestly,
genius.
I don't even need to talk about the directors. We just need to talk about Alan Menken because he's the real star of the show here.
Yeah, always.
He really is, though.
Him and the
I
singers.
guess my first impressions. I haven't seen this movie in quite a long time, maybe since middle school or early high school. It's been a while since I've seen it. And seeing it as an adult, my first impressions was like, it's an okay movie, but the music obviously stands out all above the rest.
Right.
So shout
Music
out to
is-
Alan Menken for making the movie go above and beyond.
Music is top notch, and the rest of the movie is like notch.
Except for
Middle
the
of the
colors.
road notch.
The colors, I will admit, like the animation of the
and-
movie
yeah.
and the colors and the way the wind blows, all of that is very, very beautiful.
It looks very good.
Question, though.
Yes.
Because I don't disagree. I do not disagree whatsoever. But is it because of the way that the movie is written? Or is it because of the content
Like the content of the movie.
Maybe
Or
a
is it
little
because
bit
of the
both.
historical inaccuracies? Or is it because, like, what is it that gets you?
That might be
What gets
it,
your goat?
because seeing it as a child, I remember being like, wow, Pocahontas is so cool. She's a boss. Like, she's great.
Which she
She's-
still is. A
She
boss.
still is a boss, let's be real.
Mhm.
But I think you do notice those, like, cultural innuendos and things when you get older that I was a little bit like, oh, man, there we go.
Yeah, I think that was a real big part of watching it this time. Is like I know more of like the actual history, and I know like the weird, strange workarounds that they did to get this movie's plot to work as it did, and it feels like it just feels like very untrue. Like as you're watching
Yeah.
it, like all of it, like they shouldn't
Just
be
like the
together.
American textbooks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god.
And we will say that we picked this movie knowing, like, okay, Thanksgiving's coming up. Let's
Yeah.
watch Pocahontas.
Let's watch something about
And
like Native Americans and
now I'm
settlers
like,
and pilgrims
oh.
and oh
All
man,
right.
oh boy. There's a lot of
How do you feel
death
about it,
wishing.
Luis, being the history major person?
Well, I don't want to go into the historical perspectives of it, but I'm sitting here hearing you guys talk about it, and I'm like, oh man, I'm at odds with you guys yet
Mm.
again.
You liked it? You liked it a lot?
Honestly, Pocahontas has really been one of my favorite movies of all time, and I guess I'm just not really looking at it in that kind of scope
Mhm.
to be able to not like it, but I really like it. I mean, how I feel about it hasn't changed since the first time I ever saw it.
Oh, good. That's good.
That's good. You like preserved your original
Thoughts?
about it.
I
which
think
is
Luis
nice.
might be a little biased because he did say yesterday, as we were watching this movie, Emily, do you think that Pocahontas is good looking? I mean,
Oh.
she's like really beautifully drawn.
I
I
wrote
mean,
that
like,
down in my notes
she
as well.
is
I
beautifully
put she is
drawn.
a babe. She's
Luis was like, I mean, I don't want to be like unfaithful, but like,
Oh, that's hilarious.
she is beautifully
Favorite
drawn.
Disney princess?
So I
She's-
thought that was a really interesting point.
she's drawn gorgeously, and like I wrote down like I'm pretty sure she was like one of my first like crushes, like lady crushes, because
She is very
she's super
beautiful.
hot. She has super long, flowy black hair, and she's got like
The Disney
like,
hair that we can.
strong features. She's got like huge lips. She kind
Her
of looks.
legs.
Yeah, she's got them legs. She's hopping off of cliffs and stuff. She's great.
Mainly the hair, the old Disney animated hair that every woman aspires to have and can never attain to have.
Another unrealistic expectation for women.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Pocahontas.
What do you have to say about that, Lou?
No, yeah, I really agree. She's stunning, to say the least. And that scene where John Smith is behind the waterfall and is ready to pounce on her.
Right.
I just thought that because he's thinking it's a warrior that's trying to go after him.
He pulls his gun
You know,
out.
not like and what I really, really liked about that scene was the fact that when she stood up, it was very, very, like, how do I say it? It's
Powerful.
powerful. Yes, that's the term I wanted to use. Majestic.
It was.
Yeah, because she's just standing
In her
there
glory.
straight, like not that she's an innocent to the entire situation. It's just like to her, there's no conflict at all.
Right.
And it's funny because you see both sides in that one scene, and then all of a sudden it's just like, bam, John Smith, your whole perspective is like kind of, blown to bits.
I think what makes that scene so powerful when she like stands up and is standing there looking all majestic, as you said, is because right before that she does like this weird little crab walk to get to him. Like she's just like on her hands and legs, just like.
I'm not gonna
crawling
lie.
towards him.
As soon as I saw that scene, I kind of wanted to do that. I almost paused the movie and did it.
That's like the scary. That's like the scariest thing ever in horror movies, but for some reason when it's
Pocahontas
done
does it.
it's like sexy when she does it.
It's great.
Precious, we gotta go after John Smith. Precious.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious. Oh.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But yeah, in that scene, John Smith is like he's got his gun out. He's ready to gun down one of these savages that he's been told to shoot. And good thing she had that long, dark, beautiful hair. Otherwise, he probably would have popped one in her, immediately.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, oh, too pretty,
I
too
don't
pretty
know.
to shoot.
Flit, the little bird, might have like flown in front of the gun and been
And
like,
taken the
"Not
bullet."
today, not today."
I'll be honest though, if I hear the word savage one more time, I'm
Yeah.
gonna lose
Yeah,
it.
That's a
that
lot.
whole Savages song is
Whoa.
it's intense.
That Savage's song is
Oh.
harsh.
Like, okay, so you guys don't know this because you may not have watched movies with us. Again, like I said in the past, it's interesting watching movies with us. We'll pause, we'll have commentary. I'll laugh so hard that I literally make everyone stop. Like, I have to laugh this out before we continue. But we all enjoy watching movies with subtitles, so that
Yes.
can bug
Yes.
people sometimes.
We
but
have to.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it just it's not because our soundbar sucks. It's because we just really want to make sure we're catching all the
Can
commentary.
take more in.
Yeah, you can take a lot more in because you have more, information, but when you listen to these songs and you are reading the words on the screen, like normally you just sing along or whatever, but now you're really reading them. The context is so different as an adult. And when I was listening to that song in particular, the Savages song, oh my gosh, I was like cringing in my seat.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't
I
really want to
was-
repeat what it said because
Well,
Yeah.
I will because I have the lyrics up right here.
okay,
but
I'll
like,
just cringe while
it's
Andre's-
just it's just like it's so degrading towards Native Americans, and then like it's like slightly offensive to the Europeans. It's like savages. They're barely even human. Drive them from our shore. They're not like you and me, which means they must be evil.
And I was telling
that was not
Andre
Andre saying that. That was literally the lyric.
And I was telling Andre that this song is very similar to the mob song in Beauty and the Beast, where they're like, it's different, we don't like it, we don't understand it, so let's kill it. But they're like humans, so a little bit more intense there.
They're like
and
people.
Also, this song has
They're
where
like
the Algonquins, the Indians, are singing about the British at the same time, and we're like, everything they're saying is true.
Right.
They are savages, you're right.
The only thing that they feel at all is greed. Beneath that milky hide, there's emptiness inside.
And it's
well,
true.
for Radcliffe, it's kind of true.
That song is just a little bit too intense for me.
Yeah, the song's a lot.
I have a fun fact about a different song, though. So, Colors of the Wind won an Oscar.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
However,
in 1995.
why didn't the Riverbend song win an Oscar? Because I enjoy that song more than Colors of the Wind.
I have no idea because I agree with you.
It's
I mean,
powerful.
I dig me some Colors of the Wind, and I think as a kid I liked that song more. I didn't connect myself with the riverbend, just around the riverbend. But I think as an adult, I listen to that song and I'm like, yeah, choosing the smoothest course or like
Yes,
riding the
I
tide,
agree.
girl. Like, you do you, girl.
And even watching it on the movie with like that scene where it pauses and she has to choose, do I go down this river where it's smooth and wide, or do I go down this little river that leads to Grandmother Willow? I absolutely love that song. And one of my favorite things about going to Disneyland is watching the Mickey and the Magical Map show, because she's represented on that show and she comes out of this thing and she's all powerful and she sings that song.
and the
I feel
entire
like
audience goes
God,
nuts when she comes
They
out.
go nutty, and she's so
Or maybe it's
powerful,
just me.
and that's a very it might just be us, but we love that song.
Well, I love both of those songs, but I think I do like Colors of the Wind more, because she's just like schooling John Smith so hard about everything that he doesn't know about the land in America, and it feels very powerful to me.
Oh, funny you say how Pocahontas is schooling John Smith in that one, because that is a perfect example, and I'm just gonna kind of throw us men under the bus here, but that's a perfect
please.
example of a man shoving his foot in his mouth.
Right.
Because that
He's
whole
all trying to
scene,
mansplain to
the
her.
entire
Yeah.
time he's saying, we're gonna go ahead and teach you guys how to, build better houses. Like, what do you mean?
What's wrong with our
houses
houses?
are just fine.
She
He's
was like about to get out of there. She
Yeah.
was like, bye.
no, I
She's
mean,
literally climbing up a tree to get away from him.
seriously, and John Smith, he's, give him some credit. Like, I truly believe he felt bad about what he was saying, but just everything after that just kept on like stumbling and
Right.
stumbling, and
Well,
it wasn't
you're
helping
not
him
all
out.
savages. I don't. But
You're not a savage. Like, so you mean my people are savage? And it's like, oh, John Smith, please just stop.
Yeah, she was owning
just
him.
Stop.
he was digging himself even deeper into his own grave.
But I truly believe that song really kind of opened his heart and mind to everything. And that's why it's my favorite.
And it epitomizes what the movie is about, and how Pocahontas is trying to find peace with the settlers, and they're trying to understand each other. But just me personally, I feel that the Riverbend song, I just connect with it more. So you win an Oscar in my book.
And
song.
The Colors of the Wind song, that song has like it has like a lot of beautiful animation in it too,
Very beautiful.
with the
The
like,
wind.
the wind and the deer and the eagles and the falcons and the cliff jumping again. She jumps off a lot of cliffs in this movie.
The otters.
The otters
And the colors.
The otters.
I was actually reading something that it took them 5 years to make this movie, which is a really long time in the animation world. But the reason they were doing it is because they wanted all of the colors to be vibrant and so specific to the animation. They really wanted it to stand out. And I think they did an amazing job with it, because the colors, and the whole time we were watching it, granted, I probably watched it on VHS and a little tiny TV when I was growing up, and we watched it on our larger TV in like high def, but the colors were absolutely beautiful.
Well, and I think that we all watched it off of Netflix.
Yes.
And so the Netflix had the remastered version, and the colors really, I agree.
They were popping.
There were some parts where I was like, man. And,
Yeah.
then Luis was like, no, that's not what it looked like.
Right,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, Grandmother Willow's face was not that cool.
Exactly.
I mean, she was cool.
They
but it wasn't
definitely
that
added
cool.
like some 3D
That's
animation type stuff to it, but it's fairly subtle.
All right, guys. So now that we're on the same topic, I got a who would win for you guys to answer.
Here we
Okay.
go. Pocahontas
So
fight.
I'm gonna throw this out there for you viewers as well. Stop by, drop us a comment, let me know what you guys think. But who would win in a painting the colors of the wind contest?
What?
Pocahontas or Bob Ross? Go.
Whoa.
So Bob Ross is painting the colors of the wind, and Pocahontas is like going through nature and showing us the colors of the wind.
Well, Bob Ross is explaining the color
Right.
of the wind.
He's like, look at this. We've got a bunch of leaves over here. And,
Accident.
Oh my goodness.
we got some oranges, some blues, some real fall colors going on.
Who has better hair?
Well,
Pocahontas. Sorry.
Bob Ross got that fro going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Andre knows all about the fro.
I know about that fro. That's half the show right there. Is the afro.
Well, you are right. Bob Ross does walk you through it, but I mean, really, think back to that song. Pocahontas is essentially walking John Smith through a painting of
Through this painting.
the earth
Yeah.
and what it really means.
Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon?
And Bob Ross explains how through colors we learn about life. I don't know.
Okay, my vote's Pocahontas.
Yeah, this one's pretty hard.
Pocahontas.
but
It was
yeah.
easy for me because I just Pocahontas.
Yeah, I think I picked Pocahontas as well.
What do you think, Emily?
Pocahontas actually never painted.
That's
And he
fine.
asked
I bet she
who
would.
could paint better.
Who could paint better? That's right. She didn't even have a canvas.
Maybe she gave herself her own tattoo, and if she could do that, then I just
Just developing some fan fiction. Yeah,
I
Pocahontas gave her
tell
own
you-
tattoo.
Do you guys ever remember? This is so random. Do you remember in elementary school when you would do like Indian Week or whatever, and you would make the sand in the marble, and you would like shush it around and like make your own painting?
Was that when you were like Native
Pocahontas
American
would
and
do
you
that.
could only do cool stuff because you were a part of Native American?
Yeah,
Like-
you guys never did that.
No, I never
And you had
put
to like
sand in a...
make Native American paintings out of colored sand.
No, because we didn't do that in series.
No.
That's-
Well,
that must be a
Every
Modesto
school
school
I think
thing.
Pocahontas would get very creative with her painting the colors of the wind, and she would use natural resources, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
would be very good at it.
That's all she
so
got.
Pocahontas.
Well, Michelle, I will have to agree with you in terms of the using of natural resources because I distinctly remember in that scene, Pocahontas is just walking about, singing her, tune, and then she just touches a shrub, a tree, and then all of a sudden, beautiful colored butterflies fly up in the air.
Yeah, she's
And
magical.
although she doesn't have a canvas, the earth is her canvas.
Yeah.
Because did you not see how that wind was howling and how that
True.
wolf was, crying to the blue corn moon?
That's
Yeah.
There
true.
was color all over the place.
Grandmother
Yeah.
Willow would just be like,
So although
"Listen to your
I see
heart.
Emily's
You
point,
can paint a picture."
so although I see Emily's point to Bob Ross because he actually has a canvas, I'm gonna side with my two amigos here and go with Pocahontas.
All right, Andre.
I chose Pocahontas.
Oh,
as
just
well.
kidding, Emily. We need your decision.
I chose Bob Ross, so I guess I'm
Oh.
outnumbered again.
I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay.
Well, 3 votes for Pocahontas, 1 for
As
Bob
usual.
Bob
Ross.
Ross.
It's
Ta-da,
cool.
ding, Pocahontas is the winner.
But really, viewers out there, please let us know what you think. Who would win,
Yeah, leave us a
Bob
comment
Ross?
on the website
or Pocahontas?
in the battle of Bob Ross versus Pocahontas. And what a
All
battle
right,
it would be.
segueing out of Luis's Battle of the Week, which is a hilarious segment, by the way. I love that you do this. Grandmother Willow, Flit, or Miko? Who's better?
Oh. I'm going to say Miko. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Miko's better than Grandmother Willow?
Miko's a star.
Hold on.
Miko's,
okay, we
he's
need to
got a
back it
lot
up because
of-
we got funny characters and then you got BA characters. And BA characters definitely Grandmother Willow. She is so cool.
True.
But,
Should we not include her in the sidekicks then? Because she kind of is.
But she's not a funny sidekick. She's like the wayfinder for. Oops, see how I just put that right on back into
Just
Moana?
like how the wind is like the ocean. I thought about that too.
So she's she's helping Moana get to where she needs to go, but
you mean
Miko-
Pocahontas?
oh jeez. But yes, that other princess. But Flit and Miko are funny.
Okay,
and if you're gonna throw in funnies, then we need to throw in Wiggins.
Right.
I am like the Wiggins fan.
When Wiggins
is hilarious.
when Wiggins walks into the room and he has like the arrow through his head,
Oh my god!
I was dying. And then he takes it off. Oh, just a little joke.
I made this myself.
Literally, the most underrated character in that whole movie
Yes.
is Wiggins because
He is hilarious.
His
little pug.
He comes so highly rated. I don't know.
You know what?
Highly
What I
recommended.
didn't know before we watched this movie, like I guess I never looked this up, but Wiggins and Governor Ratcliffe are voiced by the same man, David Ogden Stiers, who is
Oh.
also Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
Boom,
interesting.
shaka,
A
laka.
lot of voice acting
Very
talent.
And you know what he did?
going
He
on.
said, "That's mine. That's mine. That's mine."
Mine.
I agree, though.
Mine.
Wiggins and the pug, like that little relationship, how he's always pampering his little pug, is hilarious.
I thought it was Ratcliffe's pug.
I assumed it's
I
Ratcliffe's.
think it's Radcliffe's, but
Ratcliffe's pug.
Wiggins is the one that basically takes care of
Right.
it. He's giving him a bath
'Cause
and
he's the
all this
assistant.
stuff.
Speaking of that bath scene, that's one of my favorites. When Miko runs on into the ship
Yeah.
because instead of being with Pocahontas where it's safe, he's always going off into this British camp, right?
He's having his
Yeah.
own
And
And
adventures.
he's like eating the cherries, or he's eating little dog biscuits, or he's eating the little biscuits that
Cracker
John Smith
things, yeah.
left
He has so
That's
many of those. He has
hilarious.
a lot of biscuits in his bag. Like Miko gets at least like 13 to 15 biscuits.
Yeah, I think I identify with Miko more because he's always snacking and I'm always snacking. But I think my favorite. They're laughing because they know it's true.
Are you
Um,
snacking while you're in the ocean?
I'm snacking all the time.
Always snacking.
Always, there's always room for a snacking. But my stop laughing. They're laughing because it's true. They know me. I'm always snacking.
Michelle's just like a little raccoon. She's just always
yeah.
snacking.
Always snacking. This is like my new what do you call it? Hashtag always snacking.
Hashtag always snacking.
If you guys feel me, you feel me.
Tweet at us. Hashtag always snacking.
Anyways, but my favorite of the two is actually Flit because he's
you
always
like
like,
Flit better.
He's like Louise.
Like kind of like a very small Muppet.
Yes, we're talking about the hummingbird.
Okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna flat out say this. If you ask me, Flint is the voice of reason. Okay, somebody's got to be the voice of reason in this whole thing.
Flit, not Flint. No N.
Flint, the voice of reason. Okay, and although Miklo is pretty funny,
Miklo.
what?
It's Miko.
Miko.
Miko?
Miko.
Miko.
There's
Sorry,
no L.
guys. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
Meatloaf. Go ahead, Lou.
All right, so Miko, although he is very funny, I really do like Flit because there are a couple of scenes where he is just not in love with John Smith, and I don't even think he cracked the smile towards him at all.
Right.
Even towards the end.
Flit knew what was up. He's like, this guy is not a guy to be trusted.
No, I mean seriously, like don't trust him.
Right. Flit
You
was a
know?
good
Luis
judge of
actually
character.
said multiple times throughout the movie, I like him because he is protecting Pocahontas. I
That's right,
like
he's a
what
good
he's
friend.
doing.
Yeah. Miko's
like-
over there just stealing all his biscuits.
He's getting all friendly.
snacking.
Always snack. Hashtag always snacking.
But you know what though? I mean, if Flit and Miko were children, and you were their parents, and obviously you say don't talk to strangers, Miko's gonna be the one who's like, oh, you got candy? Okay, cool, we'll be friends. And Flit is the one like, no, mom and dad didn't tell you to talk to strangers.
That's true. That's funny.
You know what? Flit and Miko reminded me a lot of like R2D2 and C3PO. Like Flit
Yeah?
is definitely like the C3PO, and Miko is the R2D2, always going off
for
doing his
sure.
own thing.
Doing his own thing.
And Flit is like, no, please stop. What are you doing?
There was this really
You
funny
idiot.
moment where they jump off the cliff after Pocahontas, right? Because Pocahontas is like, I'm just going to jump off this cliff into the boat because that's apparently safe. And so
Lives on the
Miko
edge.
jumps in and Flit's just yelling at him like, what are you doing? And then Miko grabs Flit and he tries
to like ride him down like his tiny little wings are going to support his raccoon weight.
And I was dying. It was so funny.
It was great.
Did you guys catch that?
Yes, and then he gets stuck in the canoe. Like he gets his beak
because he's gonna get his booty.
Yes, he's gonna like.
That's right.
He tries to hit Miko in the butt, like because he got him in the water, right? And then Pocahontas flips the canoe back over, and then now he's stuck underwater. His poor little beak.
It's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
But you want to know the real moment of shock for me in this movie? There was a couple funny moments like that where I burst out laughing.
Yeah.
So there were some really great comedic moments. But the real moment that got me in shock was when Luis paused the movie very dramatically and said, "You know, I know who's voicing John Smith." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm not paying attention to that stuff. I'm just watching the movie. And he's like, "It's Mel Gibson."
You could tell just from his voice that it was Mel Gibson.
Luis was like, "Oh, I know who
had
this is."
absolutely no idea it was Mel Gibson.
Absolutely no
until
idea.
Andre told me, and now I can't look at John Smith the same way.
I know.
That's what I'm saying, because I looked at John Smith like a serious 11. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm like
no,
out
I
of 10. If he was a hottie with a
now
body,
he's a 2.
now he's a -4.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mel
he
Gibson
went like.
is not.
And did you know that he even did... Oh. He went really far
Oh
for
man.
her. He even did his own singing parts.
Oh, he sang.
Yeah, he
Yes,
sang.
well, there was a
I think he was the
there
only
was a
one
song that
to
they
sing his
cut
own
out.
songs.
That, you know, when he gets captured and they
And
tie
it's
him up in the
bad.
village,
Yes.
they cut that song out, and he sang it. And if you listen to that, like on YouTube or whatever, the scene they cut out, then it really sounds like Mel Gibson. Like
Well,
you can tell it's him.
Good.
Right.
Cut it.
Yeah, cut it.
Because Pocahontas has a singing voice, which I feel like was fairly common that they used to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, Mel Gibson was like, I'm gonna do
So
my own singing.
actually, they did it. They kind of did it in reverse. Like usually, when they're casting, they'll find the actress and then they'll see if she can sing, and then they'll be like, "Let's get an actual singer in here," and then they put the singer as a singing voice. But they had cast, hang on, let me find it, Judy Kuhn as Pocahontas, and then, but then they were like, actually, we think we want someone who is actually of native descent to play Pocahontas. So they cast Irene Bedard, and then Judy Kuhn just went to become
Which they
the singing
based
voice.
Pocahontas' animation off of Irene Bedard
Yes,
as well, which is
she looks she
looks
the
very Pocahontas.
yeah, she's the gorgeous woman who is
Yeah,
There
There
you
you go,
go,
Luis.
There you go, Luis. That's your.
Irene Bedard, your new
Irene
celebrity
Bedard.
crush.
Yes,
Could be.
Total
they,
babe.
they do really look alike.
I was clearly talking about the animated character.
Oh,
Okay, so
Only
that's
the
why
animated.
that's why I said she's very
Hey.
beautifully drawn.
if you ain't animated, stay away from Louise.
that's hilarious. I have.
You should have heard him when he watched Roger Rabbit. But we'll just move on.
We'll
from
save,
that
we'll save that
conversation.
for another day. That's hilarious. Okay, so I have a question. I feel like as I watched this movie as an adult, I never used to pay attention to Kocoum. Like, he was just there, and it was like, oh, man, she has to marry Kocoum.
Yeah, he was
Dude,
annoying as a kid.
Right.
Kocoum is a good guy, and he died, and he got the short end of the stick.
He
and
got
I'm mad
the
about
short
it.
end of
I'm
every stick.
mad about it.
Did
he
not
died.
deserve anything that happened to him in
was
this
like,
movie.
Oh, but he's so serious. I'm like, he didn't even seem that bad. He was pretty good. He was pretty good looking. He was a warrior. He never did anything bad. He was trying to save you. He saw you making out with John Smith, and he probably thought John Smith was like gonna, you know what, or something. So he
He's got
gave
those
short end of the
Paw prints on his
short
chest.
end of the stick. Hashtag what is
Justice for
Hashtag
Kocoum.
Always snacking.
No, I was gonna make a new hashtag. Hashtag justice for Kocoum.
Justice for
Okay.
Kocoum.
You know what though? I'm gonna slightly disagree with you on a certain point. He did not think that John Smith was going to, get fresh or anything. He clearly was in a jealous rage.
Was he though?
Yes, he was. It is quite evident because if you look at his face, he kind of has like that little shadow looking thing, and he looks from, his eyes are wide open to like kind of doing that little squinting, I'm mad kind of thing, I'm going to do something about it, right? And then he takes off. But hold on.
Well, he also does a
Do you
his
blame
like
him,
scream.
though?
He's like, "Yeah!"
Yep.
Yeah, I liked that scream. But do you blame him, though? Because these random people just come into your village and they're like, we're taking over. You don't even know who they are. She's only known him like 2 days. Oh, I would have done the same thing if I was Coco. I would have been like, get out of my village. This is my girl.
Oh, of course not. I don't blame him. But going back to the character of Cocoam, I do agree with you guys that when you were that young, you were kind of like, oh, Cocoam, man, why's he got to be in the picture? But looking at him now, there's nothing wrong with him. The whole time he's a stand-up guy.
Like,
he was a stand-up
in terms
guy.
of like the plot, just so that we as an audience kind of like were rooting for Pocahontas and John Smith more. They should have made Cocoam like more of a jerk. Honestly, they should have.
Cocoam's great.
No. I agree with him. So if you really, I mean, I'm just taking into account some previous movies that we've all watched.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, the guy that she's tipped to marry is kind of a jerk, but Cocoam wasn't.
Right.
And I'm just gonna throw a little tidbit fun fact there in here. Another reason why I personally like Pocahontas, out of if it's not my favorite Disney movie, it's top 5, is because for once you have two people falling in love who are not teenagers. They are grown adults, and even though it's been 2 days, they're more mature.
In the
so I
movie
believe
world.
it more.
Sure.
Unlike a 14-year-old, sea mermaid who's like, I love him, Dad.
Daddy, I love
Don't
him.
bring Ariel into this, Louise. First of all, in real life, Pocahontas was 12 years old. Okay, so
She was very young
Andre,
in real
talk
life.
about that.
Okay, so I have a fair amount. I have a fair amount of trivia about the actual story of Pocahontas, but a lot of it is like, it's like really harsh and like very rated R. Like it's a lot of awful stuff. But I'll just give you
keep it PG.
a small breakdown. So like when the Jamestown settlers first came to the States,
Virginia Company.
when the Virginia Company came, Pocahontas was around 10 to 12 years old. John Smith, he had a common practice of like going to native tribes, putting a gun to people's heads, and then like demanding that they give them food and supplies and stuff like that, which they complied with because they had guns to their heads. And so
They didn't even know what corn was.
so he was like,
They didn't even know.
So he was not a Mel Gibson in
Mel
this movie
Gibson's
type
starting
dude.
to look real good.
Right, yeah, in comparison.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was pretty awful, but Pocahontas' father, Chief... Well, okay, so Powhatan is not his name. That's the actual village. His name was... it's somewhat hard to pronounce, so I think I'm
He had a name. It's okay.
Wahunasaka.
Whoa.
Chief of Wahunasaka.
He had a name.
He made John Smith like he went along with the gun to the head thing. He made him like an official like emissary to their village. So John Smith was hanging around a lot and stuff like that. Eventually, Pocahontas, like while it was rumored that she saved his life, like John Smith claimed that she saved his life, but she was never around apparently. Like she never had any opportunity to save his life. His life was never really in that much danger, I guess.
Yeah, because I read something like that too. That
He wrote in his memoir that she saved his life twice.
yes, that the pivotal moment in our scene that we see in the movie was
Yes.
actually like where she saved him, but it wasn't
Right.
like a romantic thing.
It was never a romantic thing between John Smith and Pocahontas. He was taken in by the chief and given this role, and in his memoir he wrote like they had taken me prisoner, and Pocahontas, she came and she saved my life, and then they put me in the role. But really his life was not in danger, so I'm not even sure. Like,
Wow.
I guess he was just beefing up his story. His editor had some
Interesting.
notes or something like that. I don't know what was going on.
American textbook.
So where it gets like really messed up is like, okay, so Pocahontas did marry Cocoam when she was 14
good.
years
Yay,
old.
Cocoam.
Yeah, she married Cocoam.
She
married Cocoam and had a baby with him.
Who was from a different tribe?
Um,
I'm like 90% sure.
yes, I believe he was from a
Good.
different tribe.
Justice for Cocoam.
Justice for Cocoam. But then
I'm not
Pocahontas
over it,
was taken away.
Oh no.
She was taken away into Jamestown, where she lived for a while. Her baby had to be given to like other members of her tribe to be taken care of.
Aw.
She was abused, let's say that. And then eventually she was taken over to England, where she married John Rolfe, who was the star of Pocahontas 2.
So this movie,
Interesting.
the movie representation was a great representation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's...
Which I feel like is pretty typical of just movies in general.
Well, especially
like
Disney
for
movies.
kids' movies
Yeah.
too.
But it
Like,
almost
let's
makes me
make
wonder,
this-
like why they even decided to make this a movie for kids. You know,
I'm
what
not
saying?
sure. And
it's like
then-
this and Anastasia. Like, why did you
Yeah.
decide to make that
Ooh,
story something
yeah, true.
to make for children?
And also, it's funny that you're saying why did they decide to make this movie? And this movie and The Lion King were kind of in
Yeah.
like a rivalry with each other. So most of the animators chose to work on Pocahontas and
Correct.
not The Lion King.
They did not have a
which
lot of
is
faith in The
ironic
Lion
to me
King.
because The Lion King is obviously way much more popular, has a lot more traction. People love The Lion King.
Well, like a little backstory on what Michelle's talking about is that they were both being worked on at the same time.
Mhm,
So
correct.
they like resources were being split big time, and where Michelle's really going with this is that because people didn't have faith in the film, they kind of like left it by the wayside in a little
Yeah. Right.
in a little bit of
They had more faith in Pocahontas.
which is weird because I think Lion King is a little bit more widespread
Right.
than
It has,
Pocahontas.
it's like a more generalized
Yeah.
story, and
But I mean, Pocahontas, historical movie or Talking Lions? I guess at the time they were like,
They didn't like the
Pocahontas,
Hamlet,
historical
Yeah.
the Hamlet
movie.
version.
But I also think it
Lion
might
Hamlet.
have been
I don't think
because
so.
the animators really focused on how beautiful can we make this movie, which they made it absolutely gorgeous. So maybe that was why they were like, I want to work on Pocahontas. I feel like I can really make this movie gorgeous versus an African Sahara. But interesting fun fact for you.
I suppose, yeah.
Also, the only other Disney movie that is about historical content would be Mulan. Those are the two Disney movies that are about
Kind of based
historical.
on history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loosely based on
Right.
history.
Very loosely.
We'll
which
go with
is
that.
Emily's favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Emily loves Mulan.
It's good stuff.
I love me some Mulan. Okay, so does anyone know? This is a fun one. So do we all know who Thomas is?
Yes.
Is that the friend?
That's the friend.
John
That's
Smith's
John
friend.
Smith's little
I
friend.
love him.
Who he is?
Christian Bale. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Thank
I just ruined the punchline.
Stealing a whole bunch of thunder over
This
there,
just goes
Michelle.
to show that we don't talk about what we're going to talk about before on the podcast, and I guess we had to talk about the same thing. My bad.
Yeah, the colors of that one were completely blotted out.
But he's an underrated character, too. I really love him.
Yes, he's actually a really
I
good.
mean, he kills Coquelin, but...
I do kind of like his arc though. Like in the beginning of the movie, he's like,
Yes.
"Oh, we gotta save this kid."
Seriously.
he's not great at what he does. He's not a good shot. He doesn't help her out much.
Well, and I think that's the one good thing about this movie is that he did, even though he killed Cocoam. I mean, I'm not obviously not cool with that.
Right.
Justice for Coco.
Hashtag
He-
just for Coco.
From his point of view, Cocoam was going to kill John Smith,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
got none of the context of what was
Mhm.
happening. So all he saw was John Smith
My friend.
fighting an Indian with no other help coming, and
Right.
so he,
Yeah.
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 did what he
Attacked.
thought was right.
The point is, it's Christian Bale.
Yeah. I mean, and
Ah.
this
Go
role set
Batman.
him up very well for American Psycho. I'm just going to throw that out there.
My goodness.
He needed some really good source material, so he just took a look at Pocahontas and all of the craziness that happened here, and then was like, "I'm ready for
That's
American
funny.
Psycho."
I'm ready. I'm ready to flex my arms in this mirror.
That's hilarious.
And he did a great job.
And he did a great job in both. Thanks, Batman. You did it.
Did anyone know he's really British? Because
Yes, I do.
Oh,
that
well,
Christian Bale
I
was
didn't
pretty
I
good.
didn't know. It's okay.
there you go.
I think he might be Scottish or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate. Oh, you know those Scottish guys in the movie were pretty funny. I like them. The black
Hilarious.
haired guy
Guys.
and the red haired guy.
Oh, the friends?
Yeah,
I don't even think they had names.
I don't think they did either. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't
They
know.
might have, but yes, they were funny. So, what would you rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10, Andre?
Upon this viewing, I think this movie has gone down a little bit for me. Like as I said in the beginning, the the story content rang a little less true for me this time. So I think I'm gonna give it like it's still a good movie. I love the music. I love the animation style. There are a few good, like, really funny jokes in there. So I think I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. That is my final score for Pocahontas.
All right. I am going to give it... This one was kind of hard for me to rate. I feel like usually a number will pop into my head right away when I'm rating a movie, and it was a little bit difficult for me, but I'm going to give it a 6.
6.
I'm going to rate it a 6 just because really what stood out to me was the animation was beautiful. Pocahontas is a boss. She's amazing, and the music was really great. But did I necessarily enjoy the plot and the storyline of the movie and all of that intrigued me? Not as much. I was kind of like, ooh, when's the song going to come on? Because I really want to see that scene, and that scene is really powerful and amazing. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 6.
Good on you.
I agree with everything you said, Michelle, except for the rating. And again, this is clearly based on my attachment to this movie from my childhood years. But yes, the context of the movie, it's a little bit, difficult to go along with. But the music in it was awesome. The, Pocahontas was very beautifully drawn. And also the animation and the colors that were involved in this movie, I mean, that alone for me, it brings it up to about, I would easily give it a 9.
Oh, wow.
A 9.
And again, I'm looking at it in biased eyes, but, I'm sitting here as I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm like, can I be unbiased about this? And honestly, it just came back to a 9. That number came very easily to me.
I'm surprised because Luis is usually the first one to rate movies down, but I like that you have that much fervor about this movie.
Yeah.
He
I have a
likes it.
strong opinion about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things we didn't talk about, but I want to bring up only because going into watching the movie, I could not remember how or if they even addressed the fact that Pocahontas and Senor Smith would have spoken different languages. And I thought to myself, like, how in the world are they going to make this work?
I couldn't remember that either.
I was like, there is no way.
Right.
And if they just, like, pop up and are speaking the same language, I'm going to lose it. Because that just makes no sense, right?
They explained it with, like, some magic. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I was waiting, and I kept thinking, like, how is this going to happen? And so Grandmother Willow starts singing the song, You Will Understand, and I'm kind of like, okay, so she's going to understand. And then my interpretation, and I feel like most people would kind of agree with this, is that Mother's spirit is with the wind, right?
Yeah.
So here comes Mom's spirit, and she kind of sings to her as John Smith is approaching to actually speak to her. And at first you can see on Pocahontas' face that she doesn't understand what he's saying.
Right.
And then here comes the wind and the song's kind of playing in the background, and then automatically you see in her eyes that it switches and that she can now understand him.
Right.
And so to me, I was thinking, okay, that's really cool. Like I will allow magic to,
Yeah, there was more magic than I remembered.
Yeah, and that can be part of it. But then I thought, well, is everyone else going to be able to understand John Smith? Because is the magic working for them too? Is this like love magic?
Right.
Like, what is this, right? But then I paid really, really close attention to the rest of the movie. And every time that either the chief or Nakoma, right? The friend,
Yes, the friend Nakoma.
the crazy friend, was talking to John Smith. No one responded back and forth to each other, so I think that they didn't understand each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I
think
just
it really
Pocahontas
was
and
just
John
the two
Smith.
of them.
They have
I
a
think so.
magical
And then power love was a curious
connection.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So, with all of that said, I'm happy that that was resolved, at least in a magical way, so that it wasn't so completely out of context.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to kind of agree with Michelle. And just to bring up her score, I'll give it a 6.5. Because as much as I want to give it a 6, I have to bring up the score a little bit.
For the
So-
little magic.
For the little magic.
A 6.
Because I have to
Good
believe
reason.
in love.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
reason.
Even though I don't like sappy stuff.
Well,
Or Valentine's Day.
Speaking of sappy stuff, do you
Oh.
love how in the Disney animated movies at the credits at the end, there's always like an R&B version of the main song?
this is the first
Do they
movie that we
still
have
do
watched.
that?
This is the first movie that we have watched that has post-credits R&B version of one of the songs in the movie. And
I am rolling my eyes so.
They do that though.
I
right
love
now.
those so much.
I wish you could see
Andre
my face
loves them.
because as much as Andre just like wrung his hands with
If
excitement,
I never knew.
They're usually
I
Peebo
literally
Bryson.
said if this if this was more popular, I would hate Disney music. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. And Andre's over here so happy, and I just want.
They
This is
do
awful.
still do that.
Peebo Bryson usually.
Yeah,
right?
Peebo Bryson did a fair amount of them. I think he did the Beauty and the Beast one and the Aladdin one.
Beauty and the Beast. That's what it sounded
This
Yeah, that
one's
one.
Vanessa Williams for Colors of the Wind.
And then John
they did-
Cicada and Shanice for If I Never Knew
If I
You.
Never Knew You. Which
yeah,
was the
so-
song that was cut out of the movie.
Yes,
Rightfully.
I love
Cut
these.
it.
I think I grew up on these a little bit, and yeah,
It's rough.
they do
He
still do them.
did.
Like in the new Beauty and the Beast, I think it's like Ariana Grande and John Legend.
Yeah,
That's
which
right.
is I didn't really like that version.
Sing the
But
credit
this just
song.
reminded
Well, the
me.
music was bad. It literally
Yeah.
sounded like they took the 90s version, popped them into singing it, and then like, go.
They did. But
That's it.
this reminded me of a funny thing. So every year for my birthday, we always go to this restaurant called Tori's where they like cook in front of you. It's like Japanese food. It's great. Teppanyaki. And it's a
I thought it was called
karaoke.
a hibachi.
I'm not sure,
Oh,
but it's
I don't
karaoke.
know.
And so
Oh,
Andre,
Teppanyaki,
for
everyone.
my birthday last year, we sang "Colors of the Wind." But when they put the song on,
Did
it was
you?
the R&B or no, not
We-
"Colors
we
of the Wind."
sang,
I'm so sorry. Part of Your World.
A Whole New
A
World.
whole new world.
Yes.
I can't get it right. You know what I mean.
All of the Disney songs we sang.
So
I'm
many
getting
Disney songs.
flabbergasted. Yes, we sang A Whole New World because Andre loves Aladdin.
Yes.
And so we sang it together, but when they put it on, it was the R&B version, which I didn't know, so Andre had to sing the male and the female part while I just stood there like, I don't know the R&B version.
She just stood there and she didn't even like sway or dance or anything. It's like she was just
I was
sing all
just-
the parts, sing all the parts. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay,
I was like,
I had to
babe,
diva it
I
up.
don't
I had
know
to
it.
had to
I
do
don't
both
know
parts.
the R&B version.
Good thing I knew them both by heart.
Yeah, so
was
Andre
able to
loves
Good
the
easily
thing he
sing
R&B.
them.
could flip between his normal voice and his falsetto on a dime.
Luis, are you a fan of the
Oh,
R&B
no.
versions of songs?
The only R&B version of any song was an, I guess, actual R&B version song, and that's the only one that I've ever liked was "I Believe I Can Fly."
From Space Jam.
That's not
I know that's very
That's
like
not
has
Disney.
nothing to do with Disney, but that's like the only kind of R&B movie
That's
song
hilarious.
I like.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
a pretty good one.
Space Jam had the best soundtrack. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
It's
My
good
mom used
stuff.
to buy me soundtrack music, and
Come on and
I
slam.
bumped
And welcome to the
Jam.
jam.
Come on and slam. I know all of the
You
songs.
guys are hilarious.
There was like a Coolio song on there.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
It was
This
good
white
stuff.
girl was getting down.
So when we watch these original animated movies, I'm going to start keeping track of how many movies have an R&B version of the most popular song
Right.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
credits because it kind of cracks me up, and Andre thoroughly enjoys it.
I
I wish you
I
could see
love
his
them.
eyes light up when the credits come on. He's like, "Oh yeah,
Oh, it's happening.
version."
I think we should take a picture of Andre's face versus Emily's face when those songs come on.
Yeah, hilarious. So what movie we doing next week, Andre?
Oh, did we decide?
We
I don't.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, we totally did, and I totally know what it is.
And the cute thing is
He
that
doesn't.
Emily and Michelle are looking at each other like, "Yeah, we did," and Luis and Andre look at each other like, what movie did we
Story
choose?"
of our lives. All right, we'll tell you guys.
Actually, I just remembered, so
You do?
Oh, okay.
count me out of that. Yeah, how dare you forget,
Man.
Andre? How dare you?
The worst
Well,
host
I guess
of the
I'll
week
introduce
is
the movie we're going
Andre.
to do next week.
You're
So
singing a song about how awful
Yeah,
you
I'm
are.
real bad.
you get to do the drum
Who's
roll
that
then.
girl? It's
All right.
Andre.
Drum roll, please. Wreck-It Ralph.
Cool. Yeah, we're doing.
That's the second time.
I was supposed to say it after the drum roll. Is that what
Yeah.
you meant?
It's
know,
Wreck-It Ralph. We're doing Wreck-It Ralph. The
It's fine.
Disney animated. Is
Yes.
Wreck-It Ralph Pixar?
Oh, also we no, it is Disney.
That's
So
right.
we made a comment on the last episode that like the 3D animated ones were Frozen and Moana.
Oh, yeah,
throw
we-
Wreck-It Ralph in there.
we missed a bunch.
It's a 3D animated.
Tangled,
They missed
Wreck-It Ralph,
Tangled,
Big Hero 6,
Big Hero 6. They missed a few.
Moana, Frozen.
But we are going to watch Wreck-It Ralph. I'm really excited. I've only seen this movie once.
I am really excited about Wreck-It Ralph because if you haven't seen it, this one has some serious funnies in it. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like it is actually a funny movie
have to
versus
see
just
it.
like punch drunk lines that are funny. This one to me is actually very funny and very fun. Like it keeps you on the edge of your seat with like, oh my gosh, this is really cool.
And it reminds me of Paint the Night, which needs to come back.
No, talking about Paint the Night.
I'm really excited to watch this movie, guys.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you are even relatively a video game nerd,
Me.
if you
I'm the only one that's not. I didn't grow up on video games. I got a Wii like my senior year of high school and was like, what do I do with
And
this?
then never played it.
So maybe you guys will have to fill me in on some of the little jokey jokes.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but like you see the characters walking through and you can identify with them, or even the way that you can. It's not like actually Halo, but it's like Halo
Right,
or
yes.
whatever. You know, it's just
So we're excited.
Very reminiscent
Oh yeah,
of other video
very
games.
fun. Very
So we
fun.
hope you guys are excited too.
Yeah.
Watch Wreck-It Ralph this week.
So check that out next week. For now, though, please remember to rate and review us on iTunes. All that stuff is very helpful.
We got some of our reviews in, and they were super exciting.
Gotten a couple reviews in, so go check those out. Write one of your own. Rate us 5 stars, please. We deserve it. We're the best. Don't forget to subscribe so that we can be found by other fellow Vaulters. Subscribe on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play. You can watch us on YouTube if that's your deal. I think I put us on TuneIn and some other stuff like that. Also follow us on social media. We are at the Walt Vault Pod on basically everything: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff. Follow us there for all of our rich content. And also, guys, comment on the episodes. You know, you can comment on our website. You can comment on the Instagram posts or the Facebook posts or whatever. You know, tell us your thoughts. Tell us what you want to hear, what you want us to watch. You know, give us a bunch of feedback and stuff like that. Or you can send us emails at contact@thewaltvaultpod.com, and maybe we'll read your email on the podcast.
I thought you were going to say, maybe we'll read your email.
Maybe we'll read it.
We'll
I
read
don't
your
know.
email
No
and
promises.
maybe read it on the podcast. I don't know.
No guarantees.
No
That's
guarantees at all.
hilarious.
Yeah, so follow us all there. That's it for this week, you guys.
I'm shiny.
You guys, the vault is now closed.